Welcome back to DMV Sports Media, the show. DMV, the show. It's been a while. I'm a little rusty. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just recovering off of some weirdness. We've been super busy with games, but we're back. The DMV show is back, and we have so much to talk about. As always, I'm your host Geo. With me is my co-host, Mr. Noah Walker. How you doing today, buddy?
Happy to be back. Lots to catch up on. I feel like I'm going to need your help catching up with some things, but there's some topics that I can't wait to cover that, I've been privy to and had the honor of witnessing some great footy in these tail end moments of the season for some of the leagues, and then and some others just getting started.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to talk about. I mean, we're going to dive into NPSL. We're going to dive into USL playoffs. We're going to dive into what the Super Soccer League, who's promoting or who is being promoted, who is yet to be potentially promoted, teams potentially moving down to the second division, and obviously regular season champions in Virginia and DMV two, or sorry, Division two. But before we do that, make sure you do hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and I mean, you got to engage, right? Obviously, we appreciate when you engage, but most importantly, this is the best media outlet for DMV footy. So you're just missing out. You're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're not subscribed yet, I don't know what to say, but it's not too late. Hit the button. That's it. You can turn on notifications, highly recommend it, but just hit the button. That's all. I'm setting the bar low here. Just make sure you're a part of this community.
He said, "Hit the button." That's great. So let's we're gonna start with MPSL because out of all the leagues, this is the only league that is yet to go into playoffs. Right, so there's no playoffs going on. It's just the regular season. I say just, but it's crazy what's going on over there. Let's start with while there was a lot of matches going on, there was a lot of matches for those that missed it or saw it or have been watching our channel. We've had all of the DMV Elite games on our streams, all the Restosi games, all the Virginia Dream streams. So it's there's a lot going on, but there's one match that just happened this past week, and honestly, you probably could have called it the match of the conference for the Mid Atlantic, and that was Restosi versus Dream. And you had the pleasure of calling that game.
I
Talk to
wasn't
talk to us.
I wasn't shy about calling it the match of the season. I basically have been calling it the de facto season title match, and it was. I mean, if we're honest, there's a two-horse race in the NPSL Mid Atlantic. There's some other great teams, don't get me wrong, but based on results, purely if you didn't know any of the players, right, and you just knew metrics, it's Ristosi and Virginia Dream. By any way you slice it, Ristosi up until Saturday had been perfect, hadn't even lost a single point. They'd only conceded two goals through four matches. Virginia Dream had a whopping goal differential. I don't even know. I don't have it in front of me right now, but it was comical. They've just been beating the brakes off teams. They did drop one match, or they drew to the Alexandria Reds away. So that set the stage. They shared points with Alexandria Reds in a tight match on Thursday, and I think that added a little extra fire because they knew they couldn't just rely on that goal differential. If they had not drawn against Reds, maybe in theory you could go get the draw against Ristosi and then coast the rest of the season on your astronomical goal differential. But instead, they knew they had to go out and get the win. And, I think Dream is a team that likes to win no matter what. But it was a match that could have gone either way. There were, of course, some notable omissions from the match. Dream missing a bunch of players. Ristosi notably missing Taichi Nagami, who should return later in the season. But no excuses can be made. There were some incredible players, more than enough to get the job done. And it was just a one-goal game.
So I'm just doing a quick mic check. I was told to turn it up. I hope that it's much better, Ilias. I hope.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks for the. It sounds good to me now. I think it was a little bit quieter earlier, but
got it.
appreciate
All
you,
right.
Elias. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you calling it out. But yeah, so Ristosi for those that didn't see the game before the Virginia Dream game, Taichi Nogami went down. I think it was like halfway through the district elite game, and he came off, and it might have something to do with that. We can't verify, but hopefully it's not a serious injury or anything, and it's just cautionary measures. But yeah, I mean that was I got to see the replay of it, right? I didn't get to watch it live, so I got to see some of the replay, and I mean it looked like a very fun game, a very Virginia Dreams. I try to tell people that this team has some talent that you give them a half step, and they can punish you. And I saw that a few times where they were just a step or a bit too quick or a half a step in space because of a cutback or something. And it was just like those little things. I'm like, man, this Virginia Dreams team is just freaking phenomenal.
It was a young Virginia Dream team. I mean, there was no Jean-Christophe Kofi, no Mike
Mm-mm.
Akinkoye,
Nope.
no Asper Slavov. I could go down the list. No James Filerman, Jimmy Filerman. There was plenty of names who weren't there, but the names who were there really got the job done. Lorenzo Herrera. We're talking about a high school goalkeeper, which is just insane. Not just to be a high school player in the NPSL, but to be the goalkeeper, to have that presence, because you have to be a leader. I mean, there's no way you can be a goalkeeper and not have the communication, have the respect of your back line, and be able to step into that situation. He came up with some game saving saves, and he was just so reliable as an outlet pass, with his feet. He really is and does play sometimes in the field. I think for his high school, he goes and plays in the field for them because he's
Wild.
just on that level. But there were other players who stood out. Nick Beal, his hold up play was phenomenal. Got the goal. It was one of those strikers goals where, to the untrained eye, maybe it's like, oh, all he did was slide out and got it. But to be in that position and to have that reaction, and not to mention the long legs to get to this curling ball away from goal that was put across by Roshan Panton, it was next level, and I did recognize that. I was really impressed with Nick Beal's performance and a lot of the other youngsters in that match.
Yeah, I mean that match was it was something. What were your takeaways for? Let's start with Rostosi. What were your takeaways from Rostosi?
They learned a lesson, and it did seem, I got to talk to the management a little bit after, and it wasn't any kind of salt or whatever. They were just like, those guys are good, and we didn't take our chances. And that's the reality. And I think that's what makes Ristosi so strong, is the ability to just have that accountability. Like,
Yeah.
hey, one, we were good enough in terms of skill. They were. I think there's not many who could say that they weren't good enough, but they did have some absolute, I'd hate to say the word sitters, but there was at least one sitter, and then there was some other chances that have to go against your Virginia Dreams. We in the past talked about Christos. You got to take your chances. It's that type of opposition where
Yeah.
you will get a couple chances. No one's perfect, but if you don't take them, they're not going to come. They're going to come at a premium. And down the road, Virginia Dream um, did find their goal late in the game. But I think those are the two teams we're going to see in the final. I know it's early,
I
but
was
in
gonna
my
ask you
eye,
that.
there's only 1 and 2 seed for the regular season. Dream and Ristosi, I think, will get to host in the semifinals, which means you'll be seeing the NPSL semifinal and DMV Sports Media, both semifinals. Keep winning, Dream and Ristosi. And then, I mean, maybe it's recency bias for me, but those are my finalists. DMV Elite, of course, they have a strong case. Alexandria Reds, they're not part of the DMV Sports Media family yet, but I think they also have somewhat of a case. There's a couple other dark horse candidates, but if I'm being honest, if I've got to just put a bet down, I'm putting my house on the line, my non-existent house. It's going to Virginia Dream, then Ristosi as a close second.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you think Alexandria Reds are like we're obviously gonna move past this game. The game ends 1-0 for Virginia Dreams. A very close game, very well played game, entertaining game, I should say. And Tyler killed it on the play by play. Um, but do you think Alexandria Reds is a dark horse, a potential dark horse? The reason I throw this on here is because they're the only teams to take points from Virginia Dreams, and they're the only team that is undefeated next to Virginia Dreams.
What is the question again? Sorry.
Do you think
Instructions unclear. Sorry, Gio. This is
Do
you're living
you
through what
think
all of my
Alexandria
teachers had to
Reds
say to
are
me
a
in middle
dark
school and high school.
horse? You missed
Is
the
what
question again.
I
I
did.
can't deal with Noah, y'all. I was saying, do you think that Alexandria Reds is a dark horse that could potentially slide into one of those spots? Because I mean, they're the only
I
teams that haven't lost.
I hesitate to even use the word dark horse for a team like Reds because they're one of I think next to Dream. No, they've even been competing in the NPSL longer than Dream. So they're tried and true. They've made the playoffs. I want to say in every single season that they've competed. So their veteran presence, their experience is, you know, proven. So, this season, yeah, it's there's lots to be excited about from Virginia Dream and Ristosi, and I don't think I'm putting Reds against ahead of either of those. But that's why I say I do see a situation where they could sneak past either of them. You saw them taking points from Dream at home on Thursday. Um, but yeah, still I'm favoring Dream. I'm still favoring Ristosi, especially Ristosi are able to get that hosting, and play at home and at Mustang Stadium.
Well, I'll leave the NPSL conversation with this. Their next matchups aren't really too big of a deal because Ristosi plays FC Frederick and then Grove United. But the one I want to circle for Ristosi is going to be an away game for them. They'll be going to Alexandria Reds on June 26th. So that game may determine who is in that second place because I really do not see Virginia dropping off form, unfortunately, or
Yeah.
fortunately if you're a fan. So that we'll just leave NPSL there, and move on to UPSL, which we have a bunch of things going on in UPSL right now. Obviously, we're starting to enter the playoff phase. Noah, do you want to put a lay of the land of the South Conference?
Yeah, for sure. First off, congratulations. Another season title to Virginia Dream in the DMV South A Conference. Congratulations to Lynchburg, who won the DMV South B Conference. Um, so it's going to be in the A Conference, four teams that are represented. Virginia Dream gets a bye in the first round. The second place team, Arlington SA, host in the first round. The third place team, Revolution, have to travel to Los Toros from the other conference. We'll get to that in a moment. And the fourth seed, Alexandria Reds from the DMV South A conference, have to travel to Lynchburg, who won the DMV South B. Okay, so DMV South B, Lynchburg, we already talked about them hosting Reds. The second place team, Los Toros, will be hosting the Virginia Revolution on Saturday. That might be the tastiest matchup of the weekend. For those who don't know, just an insane amount of familiarity there. Before Los Toros started in the UPSL, a lot of those Toros players just played for Revolution on Saturdays and then played for Toros on Sundays, and they've had to choose one way or another, but that familiarity and that friendship never stopped. And even in the leagues where there's not any conflict, they still do play together. Say Super League, I think we'll see maybe Jack Stone, maybe some of the other um, VA Revolution players, but now it's brother versus brother in that matchup. They have to separate the group threads, separate all the guys, and then go to battle for them. So that we're excited to cover that 5 p.m. South Lakes High School on Saturday. And then the final matchup, yeah, we mentioned Reds traveling down to Lynchburg. Oh, Petrolero, where is Petrolero? Petrolero is going to Arlington. We'll have that match Sunday at 3
Dorados.
p.m. Excuse me.
Dorados.
Doratus going to Arlington. Oh, did I say Pet? Sorry, Doratus, and sorry, Petrolero. It's not Petrolero. Doratus. Doratus will be traveling to Arlington. That'll be exciting. It's a first ever matchup of those two clubs, I think. So something to look forward to. It's interesting how they did the DMV South, with the cross divisional
AMB,
play,
yeah.
some teams that have never matched up. Um, so I do like that idea to shake things up.
Noah out here giving out fake false dreams to
Sorry.
Petroleros. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. For the North, let me kind of lay out the scene for the North, and um, I'll just lay it out. So you have DC Hyper in first place, Club Deportivo Laurel in second place, MSI Pro in third, Chiefs United in fourth, Bridge Sports in fifth, and Touch Kings in sixth place. So with that being said, what they're gonna do is they'll have MSI and Chiefs host Bridge Sports and Touch Kings respectively. So MSI will be playing Touch Kings, Chiefs will be playing Bridge Sports, and Laurel and Hyper they have a bye, correct now?
That is correct.
And then semifinals, DC Hyper and Club Deportivo Laurel will host the winner of those quarterfinal matches, and then obviously the final will be played on what I forgot it was June 5th, July 5th.
July 5th or 6th, depending on who is
Yeah,
hosting. I know
correct.
because I won't be here.
It's
Sad
all
boy.
right. No, we'll carry on. We'll carry
But we
on.
got more than capable personnel ready and waiting and deserving to make those coverage. And I'll be back for the regionals for whoever makes it onto that stage.
The round of 32s. Oh, that's great. That's a good point. Obviously, the winner of the playoffs for the North and the South will face off in the rounds of 32s, which are the regional play. Then quarterfinals are national, semifinals, the further stage of nationals, and then obviously the final for the. I want to say it's how much? What's the prize spot this year? 40,000 or something like that.
Could not tell you.
He's like, I don't care. I'm not getting any of it. But yeah, so that is kind of the scene of UPSL. What the playoffs. For me, I want to ask you, Noah, in respective conference. So North and South, we went through all the teams that have qualified, who's hosting what, and who's doing what. Who is a favorite to win one in the South and one in the North?
I'm in South. Are you picking against Dream? I think Arlington have a conversation for sure. Arlington are a team that has that kind of they're in the conversation, but just based on the metrics and on precedent, we're going Virginia Dream as my favorite if I had to pick one. And from the okay, so this is all of the South, right? Not A or B, just all. Yeah,
Yeah,
still.
because they don't separate.
Yeah,
There is
it's going
only
to end
one
up
South.
just one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lynchburg also in that conversation. I'm sorry, Lynchburg. I just haven't had a chance to cover Lynchburg as much, but they're a team that does things the right way. They're not only talented, but they're big, and they really know how to utilize set pieces. And they're really, really technical from open play. Are really organized and well coached. Um, and that is a heck of a drive for all the teams that
I
have to
was
go
gonna
down
say.
there because of they're achieving the high seed. That was a big one. So Lynchburg, I think, will go very far. But Dream is Dream, and Dream does travel well. They're so used to playing away. NPSL, UPSL, they'll go where they got to go, and I don't think it's an issue for them.
What about the North?
With the North, again, not as familiar, but I think that I have to put some stock in MSI, although they had to show me something because they did drop a really important end of season match to Bridgeport, albeit on the road, a late game. It was tricky reschedule for them, but excuses are excuses. Got to win the games. I'm still going to go with MSI, but of course DC Hyper have proven themselves to be a force to be reckoned with, and maybe I'm picking with my heart instead of I'm going with the metrics. I'm talking about Virginia Dream and this that, and MSI is kind of like my hopeful pick because I have found really exciting, and I love the project. I love what they do, um, and I do think they have a strong case for it. If I'm being really cold, maybe I just take DC Hyper, but
I don't know, man. I don't. For me, DC Hyper is a really good team, but for me, DC Hyper is one of those teams that if you're a good team and you get them away from home, they're just an average team because what DC Hyper does really well is they have a small field and they use it to their full advantage, right? Like they like to do the isolations, they like to play the one on one versus the defenders or whatever it is. And it's because of what? Because they're mainly futsal players that decided to put together a outdoor team that is actually all of them. I mean, from the goalkeeper to the last person on the bench, they are all so technically sound.
Yeah, they can make it 11v10 very easily by playing that style. It's a podcast, so I'm about to be controversial. Let's throw some controversy in here. Okay, so you talked about the small field. Maybe someone, if anyone understands how this is possible, how are we playing at a national semi-professional league? How are we playing playoff and potentially regional games on 50-yard wide pitches? I don't understand that. I understand there's probably some fine associated with it, but I mean, the venue is announced before. It's not that hard to go on Google Maps and check the width. Fair play to Hyper. I mean, I'm not knocking it. Like that's within the rules. They're like, yeah, we'll eat the fine and we'll play to our strength, and they have the ability to play in those tight spaces.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fair play to them. It's just it to me, it's mind-boggling that they're able to go and continue to play on a sub FIFA sized pitch. Um, but also the other weakness that I've seen that Hyper, if when they're winning the game, they're some of the best game managers of all time. But if you put them off their game,
Yep.
something goes not their way, a referee decision they don't like, it can go downhill really quickly. And teams know that. I mean, they're a team that's been, now in the South, moved over to the North. Teams know about them and are going to try to put them off of their game. And they're one they're one move moment away from kind of losing it. I liken it to Steel Pulse a little bit at times, but yeah, they're so good. They just have to really focus on staying within their game.
So Noah, are you ready for me to make you mad?
Am I what?
Are you ready for me to make you mad?
Yes. Oh, please do.
Okay, so while you were talking, I decided to look up what sizes FIFA are technically have approved, right? So the length can fall anywhere from 100 to 130 yards. Fair. Meanwhile, the width has to fall somewhere between 50 yards and 100 yards.
I stand corrected. Which website are you looking at?
FIFA.
You win this round, Geo.
FIFA rules 5.3 pitch dimensions and surrounding areas.
You win this round, Geo. You win this round.
I was just curious. I was like that does seem a little bit like narrow, right? So I was just like, you know what? Let me look this up. And Random Ozzy, how's it going, buddy? Let me look this up and see what FIFA has to say about this. And hey, you know what? Fair play to DC. I mean DC Hyper to know
Yeah.
that. Hey, let's look at this 50 size field and use it to our full advantage and just work on isolating and the overrunning sides because that's what they do. I mean, they do that well. But going back to who I think is going to win DMV North, man, that's a tricky one, very tricky one.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be DC Hyper. I do think it's going to fall between MSI and Club Deportivo Loro. And the reason I say that, and maybe it's recency bias, but as you like to say, but I watched Club Deportivo play against Hybrid, and man, this team can play. This team can play, and they love a good through ball, and they play right to the line, and it's like I I can't even count on my hands and feet how many times they put a through ball in and put themselves in a one on one with a keeper or just absolutely whiff the shot. But this team can really play. Now, the problem with them is if they are there on time and if they are ready and warmed up by the time whistle blows.
Mm.
So that's for me. Club Deportivo just needs a little bit more commitment, and I think they'll be sure number one. But I I'm with you. MSI should be the team that wins this conference.
Yeah, that's fair. I haven't gotten to see Club Deportivo in person yet. So,
This their
um,
striker Mejia, my word, this guy can play. And he like any shot he took like maybe four to three shots that game and bagged two of them. And I was like, this guy was just he knows how to shoot. And he knows his position. He knows how to either pull the defense or how to make that when they do an early through ball, is just it was perfect. And he wasn't the kind of striker that just stayed in the middle. He would pull the defense all the way out to the touch line or swing to the opposite side. I mean, it was a good. He's a good forward.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to. Oh, here's a controversial question for you. Which conference do you think is harder or tougher road? Should say.
I think it's got to be the South. I mean, one, there's just so many teams, and two, look at the quality. I mean, no disrespect, but you've got Lynchburg, Virginia Dream, Arlington, SA, just to name, the quote unquote very top, those Toros, Via Revolution. I mean,
Hey,
I
look, I
lived
got
down in Virginia, so obviously I'm a little
bias.
biased, and I have more coverage down here. But I don't think it's controversial to say the DMV South, just based on those
I don't
points.
know. The North might have something to say about that.
Yeah, of course the North will. Let's see who wins. I maybe this would just be me giving myself an out, but let's say the North wins, right? Let's say the North, the champ. I still would put the claim that the South is harder because just how many teams on that level there are. Maybe there'll be one team that rises above the rest from the North and wins the championship. I still think it's going to be the South, but
You're
I
saying you're
don't know.
speaking
I still
averages.
think it's the South. Look at the hoops that the South teams have to jump through just to get let's say, okay, Alexandria Reds, they're a team that just got into playoffs, so they don't get the bye or anything. They have to go down to Lynchburg. If they win that, then I think they have to play Virginia Dream, or I'm not exactly sure, but that might be how it goes. They have to go to Meridian and play Dream, and then they would have to play in the championship against,
Can you imagine if
say,
they pulled that off though?
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying that's more difficult
That's a
to
gauntlet.
me than having to play. Okay, MSI has to play Touch Kings has to play MSI, and then has to go and play Deportivo Laurel. I
Yeah,
don't know.
like
Maybe
no,
it's not.
no disrespect to the North teams, and no disrespect to any of the South teams, but for me, it's one team that like you say that name and you're like, oh yeah, we got to play to the top of our game, our top of our game, and like I'm not, as the young guys say or the young kids say, what is it? I can't think of the term, but anyways, like anytime you hear the word Virginia Dreams, you're just like, oh, we got to make sure we're like the top of our game. I don't think
Yeah,
the North has that. They don't have a team that it's like we got to be
it's
on our A game.
DC Hyper is one title away from that. I mean, they're kind of getting there. I mean, let's be honest. DC Hyper has a massive following, but it's not here. I don't think that they're trying to make it as much here.
Well,
They do
Did you know
really
they were
well with their
funded?
marketing in Brazil.
Well, no, so half of their following is Brazil, but the other half is from Sudan. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Their channel that streams they're a Sudani based channel that is focused on football from Sudan. So it's, whether it's futsal, soccer, whatever, it's all in Arabic, and it's interesting. I just found out.
Hmm, that
I
is
go down these
fascinating.
rabbit holes.
No, but it's interesting because yeah, they clearly do a great work and they're putting the resources into it. It's just I don't feel like if I go on say Instagram or whatever, like I know what Arlington's doing. I know that what Virginia Dream's doing. I know what Revolution, you know, I don't really know what DC Hyper's doing as much. I know a little bit, but I think it's just I'm not the person that they're trying to go after, and that's fine. Like there are markets out there that are beyond here in the DC region.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're a local team, you should be targeting your regional. Anyways, so that's another podcast conversation right there. How to do marketing regionally,
Yeah,
101. And we should probably do that. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to Super Soccer League, because Super Soccer League, there's a lot going on, and
yeah.
I know we got a time limit here. So let's talk Division 1 Virginia.
Once again, talking Virginia Dream, regular season title, a fifth time, fifth and status quo. Dream, and it wasn't so close. I mean, so it was close the whole season. Los Toros were always hand in step with Virginia Dream.
Yep.
Dream almost ran away with it. Then Los Toros scored three unanswered in the second half in that fantastic early season matchup between Virginia Dream and Los Toros. And it's funny, the Los Toros guys, they've been begging for next season. We want to play Dream twice, and it's every other team is like, please don't have us play Dream twice because there's only 8 teams, so some teams play twice. So I can pretty much promise that we're going to see a Virginia Dream Los Toros 2 times next season because I know Dream's not backing down from that matchup at all. Los Toros, they want them. They wanted a chance to put their destiny in their own hands, and
Right.
so yeah, I think that'll be an interesting one to pay attention to. Second place, it was Toros. Toros is going to get um, to face Dorados, another appearance for Dorados, who earned a playoff appearance in their first season in the Super League, and now they look like they're going to be a regular repeat offender. They've got a strong squad, and I think on their best day they could really give Los Toros potentially a match. And the fourth seed will be Blazers. Blazers have been with the Super League since the inception, and they stuck with it, and they've got the playoff appearance. The fourth seed really was, the spot
Yeah.
that was up for grabs. North Stars was contesting for it. Alexandria United very much in the mix, and until like the last 2 weeks, I think even LAI and possibly Asperian maybe 4 weeks before were like still mathematically in the mix. So that was exciting, and it's good to see. Blazers get that now. They have to face Virginia Dream in the first round, and I think that's going to be one that is only going to go one way based on the previous matchups. But I think it's a big accomplishment just to make playoffs, in any competition, and especially the Super League.
It's huge, but I love to hear that the Taurus wants dreams, and obviously they'll get it, but in the playoff settings.
Yeah, yeah,
This would be obviously Los Toros has to take business or has to take care of business against Dorados before they can face off with Dreams, and if Blazers pull out like a miracle, we won't get to see it. But my money is probably on a Los Toros versus Virginia Dream final here in the Virginia Super Soccer League. Man, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited. I really thought Los Toros was gonna pull away. I know Virginia Dreams is a great team, and they were flying. There was never a moment there it was in doubt. But I was like, you know what? It might go differently this year. It did not.
no, it didn't.
It
It
did
didn't.
not.
There was no one who could take down Virginia Dream with respect, except for Los Toros. Los Toros, they pulled the tie,
It's the
and
only team that took points from them.
I'm not saying that every time like Los Toros would take Virginia Dream down. That's obviously not how it's gone, but they've got on any given day, Los Toros can be as good as anyone. But I do think that they hit a little bit of kind of a denouement. They kind of regressed at the end of the season. But I know Coach Dave and I know some of the leaders on that team. They're not going to be accepting that, and that's a fiery group. And I think it may be to their benefit that they had some disappointing performances. I mean, we were really building up that match against Lynchburg, and they were flat. I mean, 3-0
Yeah,
blanked at home. That's not good enough for a team that sees themselves as a championship contender. And I know that that's not acceptable to those veteran players in the side and to Coach Dave. So they're going to be having some words, and I think they're going to get their stride as playoffs come.
that's a good. This actually brings up a good point. I know we're talking Super Soccer League, but you just brought up a good point in my mind. Like, take for example Virginia Dreams, Los Toros. Take for example MSI. Take for example uh, some of these other teams that are competing in multiple leagues versus the teams that are not, that are only competing in one league. Who do you think tends to be better? Because I mean, every team I just named is a really good team.
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to individual circumstances as much as leadership on the team. I it has to be mentioned, like, who's got a wedding or who's got, whatever, this, that, and the third. But then in that situation, it also comes to depth, and kind of pre-planning. The teams that have been here before and know to put this on the calendar is like, we're going to be in playoffs. Like, the ones that are betting on themselves to continually be there, like, I know that for Virginia Dream, it doesn't really affect them, whatever, unforeseen circumstances, because they just have that kind of player pool that they're go next man up. I mean, the roster on Saturday, just for an example, was not a familiar one. That's a group that could play with anyone in this area. And I think, you know, Toros, Arlington, they also have those kind of rosters. It's going to be tricky to see. I mean, it's going to come down to the accolades on the field, as it should. But all these teams in playoffs, I'm really looking forward to it, because we have seen some lopsided affairs here and there in all leagues, in all three leagues, 4, 5, 6. In all the leagues we cover, there's some really good teams, and there's some teams that, you know, have their real off days.
Oh yeah. Didn't Los Toros just win APL?
Toros got knocked out by Yins.
No way.
That's another reason why they're like,
Oops.
they're primed.
Clearly, I
No,
was paying attention.
they're primed for this playoff. Like, that's not accept. I mean, Yins is incredible, and I had the privilege to speak to Coach Dave about this. That there's a conversation I'm sure it is, but he was like, I don't know that we gave Yins the respect that they obviously deserve as a team that's been around for so long. Like, Toros have beat Yins, in the last several contests, but it's always been a 1-goal game. And, I think guys get past it. They win the game and they said, oh, we're just better than those guys. But they don't think about the nature of the game. Like, oh, actually, we were very close. They hit one over the bar at like the last minute and we won by 1 goal. Like, and then just don't take it serious. And this is what happens. Any team, in a playoff can punish you, and then they have to take Doratus seriously. They definitely will be taking VA Revolution serious. I don't think they're going to have any issues with that on Saturday, but they have to, be proud of themselves, but also can't get overconfident and put, the cart in front of the horse. Whatever trait, a saying you want to put here, they can't be just looking at Dream as like, we want Dream. No, you gotta earn that, before you get to the finals.
That's a great point that the APL it was a world class premiere versus Yins United final, correct? It's going to be, right?
Yeah, we'll have that live on the channel, 7:30 p.m. from Langley High School Stadium. It's going to be a weekend full of playoff contests starting Thursday. On the holiday, we're going to have
Right. Yeah.
the Virginia Super Soccer League semifinals. You should come down and do a game, Gio. You should
This
come
guy. This
down.
guy. This guy.
No, we got great personnel ready to go. But we'll have those two semifinals, the doubleheader. So just get two monitors. You can go back and forth, just OD
That's a good
on
question.
amateur footy, and then Friday we'll have WPSL action, still regular season for the women. But Saturday is the start of those UPSL playoffs in the South. We'll have Los Toros versus VA Revolution. We'll have the North MSI hosting Touch Kings, and then on Sunday Arlington SA hosting uh, Doratus. And then Sunday night, it's the APL Championship Finals.
So, Random Ozzy asked if you lose money if you get relegated or gain money if you get promoted. So we'll answer that in a second, but that is a good reminder for us to circle back to Super Soccer League and talk about Division 2 and Division 1.
Yes.
Division 1 isn't over. We still have two more games. No, one more game for Steel Pulse and Bowlies, and then the rest of the teams have two more games for the rest of the season. So we still got a few weekends of that. Obviously, there's no going to be no playoffs in the Super Soccer, the Division 1 in Maryland, but teams in first, second, and third will win some cash prize.
An arrow. Some coin. Yeah, I
And
mean,
the
it. Sorry, I just want to say it's pretty set in Division 1. If we're going to be honest, at the top, Steel Pulse is still
it's
pulsing.
more the bottom.
Yeah, the bottom is where it gets fun. Steel Pulse is still pulsing. They've clearly pulled ahead of Bowlies. after that last match, and I think Bowley's pulled a little something extra out of Steel Pulse. But once Steel Pulse were able to stick that into their top gear, it wasn't a question. Bowleys are on their way, but they ain't there yet. Um, but I know Austin Hyde and his boys, like they took it really well. They were just sitting there after the game, like kudos, like that's the level we want to get to. We ain't there yet, but that's like they were impressed with Steel Pulse, and it was like fair enough. Steel Pulse Bullies did pretty much put enough distance between themselves. I think Beer Hall still could lose that um, final spot, that third place spot, but it would take a pretty epic meltdown at this point late in the season. I don't think I see anyone else who's geared to take that spot from them. So that's the top three. At the bottom, there is going to be a relegation, or at least a relegation with a potential to play into or some other competition, but relegation. And walk us through that, Gio.
Yeah, well, so before we get into that, whoever gets relegated obviously is going to Division Two. We'll talk about Division Two here in a second, but I just wanted to point out that Baltimore Kickers and Ambition are probably the two teams that. Well, I mean, Team United technically could get relegated as well, but Team United is playing A3 and Das Beer Hall, and Baltimore Kickers need to beat Das Beer Hall and then Ambition to stay up. So I mean, what's going on there is very interesting situation. Obviously, Ambition having a kind of an imploding season, started off flying and then just has absolutely just skied downwards completely. Team United was actually the opposite. They started off super shaky and are starting to pick it up. Baltimore Kickers is just team that's completely reshaped itself and new players and all this, so they're finding their ways. You were gonna say something?
It's I'm gonna simplify the end of the season down to one match and one match only. Das Beer Hall versus Baltimore Kickers this weekend. We're working something out right now with when and where, but in terms of that match, the implications if kickers are able to earn the 3 points, and that's a big if. But if they're able to earn the 3 points, they control their own destiny against Ambition
Ambition.
in the final match. And if they're able to knock off Das Beer Hall with the way that Ambition have been showing recently, I think that we're going to see Baltimore Kickers save themselves. So I think that is the match of all matches to pay attention to. Everything else is kind of settled. There's going to still be some tasty ones, but across both divisions, if I had to watch one match, that would be my favorite one to watch.
There you go. And on the other side, Division Two,
Yeah,
I think I can say this. We can officially crown Slancha as the promoted regular season champion of Division Two. Shout outs to you, Slancha. You see this? Wait, you see this?
there it is. Oh man, that's congratulations, Slancha. I mean, and I really mean this. There's no team that deserves this more because they're a team that was so close. They've been in the league, and I don't say that to say, MSI or Touch Kings don't deserve it or Baltimore City, but they haven't been there, you know, toiling through a whole season, getting to, they were favored, they were hyped, they were, in that finals
Undefeated.
match, and they were so close, and they tasted that defeat. They had to sit there, watch Ambition lift the crown, lift, and blow the champagne, and they did it, you know, with class. There was no complaints. They were even, there was some discussion where they were, we might, have an auxiliary spot in Division One, and no, they said we want to earn this. We want to do it the right way, and kudos to them. They went and they did it. They had a little bit of a shaky moment through the end of their season, but they came back super strong. What a statement win in a match they needed to put up points. 6-2 against Baltimore City this Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, I got the pleasure to call it. It was a fun match. Slancha was looking absolutely wonderful. I mean, The way they were playing was great. Obviously, Baltimore City didn't have their best game, but it didn't really matter because Slancha was having an absolutely great game. And now I'll say for Baltimore City, it's not over because though Slancha has earned their promotion, has moved up to Division 1 for the fall, we still have the playoffs, and that's going to be the second place promotion spot, which is going to be between Baltimore. I'm assuming if things stay equal, Baltimore City, Touch Kings, MSI, and Etihad. Right, this weekend we'll see the last round of the final matches, and then playoffs will be the last week of June, and June the final should be on July 13th.
Yes, correct. We had didn't think that's one out so well, but we can't play on the July 5th, 6th weekend for the final, so we are going to have one match in
Unless they
July.
want to play on the 6th.
Even then, no, I, I'm selfish. I want to be there, Geo.
Oh, my bad. You can't play on the 6th. I'm sorry. Covered you
Yeah,
fishing here, Noah. But yeah,
yeah, that's a
so
promotion match, man. That's special. I want to be there. I want to go celebrate with the teams. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be a really fun playoff. There's still those teams you mentioned. They might jostle around in terms of the standing, but I think those are the teams that have already secured their spots into playoff. Peru United did pull off a win, but I think they're outside of the potential.
well, I mean, Etihad and
It is
Peru
a little
United.
bit interesting. I'll say mathematically, I think they could. Hold on. What do they need? What do they need to
Well,
have
so
happen?
here, let me lay this out. Peru United has to beat MPC, and Etihad needs to ruin Slancha's party.
Yes, but if let's say Slancha, I mean Slancha are there to party, and it's never fun to party on a loss. I think.
They're gonna want to Slancha. Look, Slancha's gonna want to keep form and want to. They're gonna take this game serious. I mean, they're gonna take this game serious. Arlie, correct me if I'm wrong. They're gonna take this game serious. So Etihad's really gonna have to like pull out something here, and Peru United has to just not butcher a game. And their destiny is in their hands, as you've been saying.
Okay, I stand corrected. Maybe this is not so sure as I had thought. Had very much have to defend themselves now with just a draw. They are
That's enough.
able to secure that playoff spot.
Yep.
Um, but Peru United came out with a huge win over Touch Kings this weekend to keep themselves alive. And I think that momentum with one match to focus on, this could get interesting. This could definitely get interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Slancha has. I mean, sorry, I'm going back to Slancha because I just saw the chat. Someone said stand up Slancha, but um, shout outs to Slancha, man. Like they started off flying and they had a little moment in like towards their after their loss against Baltimore City that things got a little shaky, but then they turned things around and then I got to watch them play Baltimore City again, and obviously, like I said, Baltimore City didn't have their best games, but Slancha was absolutely flying. I am dying to watch Slancha and Bowlers go at it.
Yep. Slancha and Bowleys. Slancha, you get ready for Steel Pulse. It's coming. That's going to be
Oh,
Slancha and Beer Hall is going to be another tasty one. The Battle of the Bars. I can't wait for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I always joke.
dude, that
Beer
that's
Hall, Beer Hall spawned all these, spawned Bowleys and
that's what
spawned
dude, the beginning of the
Slancha.
match for Slancha in Baltimore City, I was like, these both of these teams represent Baltimore. Both of these teams have a pretty a bar attached to them. Slancha more so with being the Slancha the bar, and then Baltimore City with Guilford. I was like, either way, you have a great place to drink at.
Yeah, we're heading towards being the beer league. That's that's the future for Division 1. If Baltimore City find promotion,
We have three. Yeah, Baltimore City finds a promotion. It's just three beer teams in Division 1. That's fantastic.
yeah,
No, but the competition is great. I mean, Slancha is going to be such a good ad for Division 1, and whoever gets that second spot is also going to be a great division. Because I mean, no offense to Etihad, they still have to secure their spot, so I can't speak to them. But MSI, Touch Kings, and Baltimore City. I mean, any of those teams go up, it's going to be such a great ad. I, I,
Yeah,
I do bank on Baltimore City going up though, honestly, because if I'm Touch Kings or MSI, I'm focusing on. Well, I mean, it could be two playoffs. Never mind, I can't say that.
yeah. I think I don't. I mean, I can pick a favorite, sure. I can always pick, but I honestly can't really tell you who
Yeah,
with any certainty who I think is going to come out of it. It's going to come down to personnel, as it so often does in the amateur leagues.
yeah, it's 100% true. And Baltimore City is done their APL season,
True.
so it is a benefit for them because Touch Kings and MSI are very much in their UPSL focus right now, but they could be in a promotional focus here shortly.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Any questions from the chat or anything? Oh, I forgot we didn't answer Random Nazi's question about if you lose money if you get relegated. You don't lose money.
It's actually lower cost to play Division 2 just because of there's no prize money for Division 2. We used to have it, but it just made the league more expensive. And the real aim for teams is to get into Division 1. That is the prize. So it was voted by the teams that let's just make the league a little bit less, a little bit more, affordable, and make the promotion the prize. And then of course there is prize money in Division 1, um, but first you have to get those promotion spots. With Slancha turning down the spot that they were whatever offered as an auxiliary, we really solidified that this is the structure of the league, and the only way in is through earned kind of promotion, and that's the way it is. And we got some great teams that are going to be coming in the fall, um, but I'm excited to see who's able to raise themselves up this season. But Division 2 is still in and of itself something to be excited about. Whoever doesn't get back up, I hope has the fortitude to stick around and continue battling the way Slancha did, because um, they set kind of the model, and they didn't do it first. I'll say this: Beer Hall, they're another team that they sat in Division 2 for, and maybe no better example than Ristosi FC. Ristosi
Yeah,
FC, they were, people remember, oh, they used to play in the Super League, they were in Division 2 and then won. They didn't get promotion right away. It wasn't like this
it was 2
meteoric
seasons, right?
rise. It took a couple seasons.
Yeah,
Once they got to Division 1, they did make playoffs in their first season, which was huge. But they didn't get through right away. They had the patience. In this day and age, Geo Harris, I'm going to go and pretend to be an old man, this generation. But like,
he
people
said
they
in this
want they
day
want
and
the
age.
easy thing. They want to say I'm premier. I'm a semi-professional player. I'm in the top league. Not, oh, you're in Division 2. Oh, you must be less than me. No, like, what did you do to earn it? Did you pay a bunch of money to just go play somewhere else, or did you actually get promoted by sitting, grinding, and making it through? Slancha certainly have that claim. They can add their name to a really incredible list of teams that have done it. They can add their name to the Beer Hall, the Ristosi, Highlanders, um, and the Team Uniteds that have gone through and earned promotion.
Yeah, I mean, Super Soccer League is so important. I think for like on a regional aspect, it's like there's teams. It's really competitive, right? It's really competitive. So, one, you got to earn your wins. You got to grind out to get to that first division. But then also, it's like UPSL and NPSL, all these other national league teams, national leagues. It's pay to play, right? It's pay to play, and it's pay to play on an expensive dime. And there's no disrespect if that's your preferred method, go for it. But that's why I love the Super Soccer League is because it's like it's not it's affordable is a relative term, but it's affordable compared, and it's high competition, and that's what I really enjoy. So like we're talking about right now, we just talked about two teams that potentially could be relegated, and we just celebrated a promotion. Like you don't get that. You don't get that
Mm-hmm.
too often. So shout out to you, Sancha.
Yeah, Slancha, Slancha's certainly earned the party, and I
I'll be
think they'll
there.
have to earn the party again. I see Arlie's like fired up the boys, like spot on Geo, not done yet. He needs to, keep it going. Yes, huge accomplishment, but I think it'll be such a more special moment to go out, with a final victory. Just not to do anything else, just to remind everyone who you are. Keep that momentum going into Division One, where you'll really need it. Um, but obviously, they're going to have something to be said themselves, and they're there to play party spoiler. I think that's another match to pay attention to. So for me, Slancha, Itihad, and of course the Das Bierhoff Kickers match of the fixtures to pay attention to.
There you go. What better way to sign off there than the wrap up Super Soccer League? Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Do make sure you hit that subscribe, like, and comment. We really appreciate if you do so. And Noah, anything before we sign off here?
No, I just want to give a little foretaste that we are trying to make the podcast a more regular thing. I'm back in the country now. Hopefully, we can keep the Mondays going. And I just want to tease out that we have consideration of adding a kind of a referee topic angle thing, and let us know if that's something you might like to see. I
This guy
personally,
over here teasing stuff off the
yeah,
jump.
yeah, I personally have some things to say, you know, about, you know, player interaction with referees, with officials, and just in a more broad sense of the sport. There's some things that I think the sport does really well that I love, and it teaches us about life and the game, and there's some things that I also see that I don't really like, and I do want to speak about. But I think it's important not only from a moralistic, holistic sense, but also from like an educational sense. I'd love to go through some, lesser known rules, some lesser known facets of the game for those who are interested to actually know more, to pay attention. Um, but yeah, that's something we're looking to potentially add on to the show.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot coming for the channel. So do make sure you hit that subscribe, like, comment, and we will see you all next time.